Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the pan fishing world, especially in Arizona. So I was given a kind of a backhanded but compliment just the same that despite being fairly monotone and not having on the water videos, that I was actually had pretty good videos because I was fairly informative. Somebody asked me to elaborate on the current rig that I have for crappie because Pan Assassin's still down. I'm taking that rod hopefully tomorrow to get the tip fixed, which should be a sit and wait for 20-30 minutes to get done type of a deal, which will be a great relief to me because I love that rod. At which point in time, the reel that is on this rod that I have that I'm about to talk about, I will replace the spool with 6-pound braid to 6-pound high vis, and take this spool of 2-pound and put it on Pan Assassin with another aria. So what this rig is it is a 7-foot 2-inch ultralight fast action. Okay, it is traditional guides, not micro guides. Okay, so it's a departure from what my norm is normally. It is rated for 1/32 to 1/8 1 to 4 pound line. So if I go 6-pound braid to 6-pound fluorocarbon or high vis, I'll be just fine on this rod because it's in that same vein. And it is a Okuma Aria 1000A. It's a 1000 size. The spool's not a long spool, but it holds 280 total yards of 2-pound. Right now I've got about 240. I've taken quite a bit of it off from wind knots and whatnot. It is a neoprene and aluminum for the frame and handle. It is a very strong rod. It's got a great backbone. Okay, it balances pretty much on point with where I normally want a spinning rig to balance. Pan Assassin's a little different because it's a Tennessee grip. I can balance it wherever I want, no matter what size reel I put on it. But here's why this rig works really, really good for off the rack. I am not a fan of off the rack rods. I've said this in my last video talking about how I pack and carry. I just struggled with being satisfied with whatever was handed to me off the rack in the vein of what I was asking for. But as far as rods go, the Okuma Solilo series and the Daiwa Laguna series have been the nicest ones comfort-wise that I've had. I've had to get reused to a thicker handle because this handle is quite a bit thicker than my Tennessee handle. But in the vein of a off the rack, it is very comfortable. I always do a 3-in-1 split. I never do a 2-in-2 or a 1-in-3. I don't do it that way. I do 3-in-1 in the back. It's just the way I'm comfortable with a 7-foot rod. I like to have a 1.5 to as much as 2.5 foot longer rod than I am. The thing with this rod that I like is that I can hold it literally all day and never get tired of it. It's got a long enough handle that I can get my forearm into the backbone to have more strength in fighting a bigger fish, i.e. a tilapia or a decent sized bass. Because I'm using 2-pound line, I fight with the rod and the drag. I do not fight with the line. Excuse me for a second. As always, so yum. So I have it set up right now with just the free line shad. I've got a couple of micro split shots on it, real micro shots, size 6 mosquito. But here's why this rig really works for me. So the bend is progressive, but it's a little bit stiffer than Pan Assassin's, but it still bends really good. But that backbone, even though it gets some bend to it, it's very strong. So if I get a fish that really, really wants to hang into it, I can handle it. And that's important because when you're doing ultralight work, especially in the 2-pound line class, the control is in the rod and the drag. It's not the line. The advantage of the 2-pound line is that you feel everything and you can cast a country fucking mile. I love 2-pound line, and I'll never stop using it on Pansasson because it's a dedicated 2-pound rod for me. But on this one, I'm probably going to go 6 to 6. Just for a little bit heavier duty, more slip bobber style. Right now, as far as slip bobber style, excuse me, I'm using my Ned Excalibur, which is my hand-built Ned rig drop shot rod. It's light enough to still be used for crappie, but it's heavy enough to still handle bass. The other thing with this combination is I could put a Daiwa reel on, like a Revros or whatnot. It would be great. It would be a little bit heavier, though. Daiwas tend to be a little bit heavier than counterparts from other companies, until you get into the 200 plus class. But this aria from Okuma is very light for 1,000 size. It is a rock solid handle. It's got that curve out that makes it comfortable to keep your hand off of the reel. The bail is smooth and crisp. It slams into place. It is smooth as hell. It doesn't appear to have any washers, but this material that they use is much better than that cheap plastic that Shimano's FX has. I've not lubed it with my special lube, and it's been just fine. It rotates very smoothly. It's not quite as smooth as if I put my grease in it. It would be a lot smoother, but I really don't have the necessity to do that. I am wearing it in through use. So full disclosure, in the past, one of the things I did to my spinning reels was I put the military grade PTFE grease with the pre-wear break-in balls in them to wear the parts just enough to smooth them out, and then I would chemically rinse the entire reel, take it all the way apart, and put my heavy grease and gun oil in it. It worked phenomenally. It's a lot of work. I am at a point now in age and with the way time works for me that I don't want to put that much into it. So I will be satisfied with most of how things run from the start, from the factory. The Daiwa Tachula 1000 that I have on Ned Excalibur is incredibly smooth, which it should be for a $200 reel from any company. This one has a lot less bearings in it. I don't know exactly how many bearings. I think it might be 3, if I'm not mistaken. It doesn't really discern that. It did on the box. The other thing I like about the reel is that it's not unpleasant to look at. It's not some gaudy color. It's a dark royal blue and silver. The spool does have some play, okay? But the anti-reverse is actually pretty good. It is not instant. It does not have a pawl system inside the spool, so it does have a little bit of clackback, but with the way that panfish typically hit and the power that they have, it's really not much of an issue. It is an all-day rig. I can use this rig all day and not really get truly tired. My hand does feel a little bit fatigued at the end of fishing time because I'm used to the Tennessee handle. I'm just seasoned to that type of a grip. So it has been something to get used to. So once I get the Pansasson up and running and I get another Aria 1000, it will be dedicated to a slightly heavier technique for crappie and panfish. And I will use it side by side with Pansasson. And at that point in time, Ned Excalibur will be strictly for my finesse bass stuff when I do bass. I've been doing bass a lot less because I've been having a ball going after crappie and bluegill. Just have not had a bad time at all doing it. But, you know, somebody really wanted to have an idea of this. It is a 2-piece. It is very portable. It is extremely light. The other thing with the rod is that this actuation of the grip, when you lock this seat down, you'll notice it doesn't have a double lock. it locks very well for a plastic lock. It really does not back out. I have not had a reason to try to redo it. A lot of them that have the double locks, it's because they have a tendency to back out if they only have one. The grips for the handle themselves, the real seats, are fairly heavy duty for a light rod, and I'm not opposed to that because it holds this reel really super tight to the rod. One of the things with ultralights that you'll see, especially depending on what type of reel seat the reel has, is there'll be a gap, and it doesn't matter how tight the seat is, the way the seat is designed, it will always hold off of the rod just a little bit, which makes it kind of uncomfortable to hold, honestly, which is why I like slip rings on a 10-inch handle. There's no gap whatsoever. Well, look at that. There's no gap whatsoever on this. It's all handle at that point. It's a lot more comfortable. Is it thicker than what I'm used to? Yeah, but it's very comfortable to use, and it's got a great bend. It's got a phenomenal backbone, even though it's got some bend to it. It's got more than enough of the back handle to fit the forearm for a bigger battle in case you get a carp or a tilapia. It's under $80. I mean, the rod was $47 with tax at Big Five. The aria was $20.46 with tax. I mean, you can't beat that, guys. Like, it's less than $80 for a very functional rig. And I have had hundreds of rigs across many decades. I mean, I've had lots of them. Unfortunately for me, Abbott Garcia stopped making the Cardinal spinning reels. They used to have a 25 that I used for my ultralight that was $15 at the store all day long. I picked them up whenever I wore another one out. I could rebuild them with parts from Ace Hardware all day long. They were a great reel. They unfortunately just stopped making them because they've been making the Cardinal series for 60 plus years. And I started going to Okuma and Daiwa mostly. The Shimano FX is crap. The Shimano AX, if you can find them, which is the classic reel, are phenomenal and are not that expensive. If you can find one on eBay, grab it. They're a little bit heavier than most 500 and 1000 size, but they are a pit bull of a ultralight reel. But as of now, my two main sources of ultralight reels are Daiwa and Okuma because they just work for me. There's nothing wrong with the other brands. Abbott Garcia, Shimano have exceptional reels in certain price ranges. Luz has phenomenal shit. Fluger has phenomenal shit. They're all good. It's just a matter of what fits your way. I look at when I go to a store and I pick a rod and a reel, if I do get off the rack, like I already had the Aria 1000 on Pansasson, I took it back to Big Five with the receipt from when I bought it, and then I said, I just want to feel what this feels like on a certain rod. Put it on this one, it was gold. You have the right as a consumer when you go into a store to say, can I fit this reel and this rod together to see what it feels like together? If they tell you no, don't buy the product. Sportsmen, they'll do it all day long. They will open multiple boxes. I sat there for an hour one day with them putting together a rig, which I eventually gave to a friend because he needed one really bad. Another rig that is phenomenal together is the Daiwa Tachula 7-foot light with Daiwa Fuego 2500. If you want an all-around finesse rod off the rack that works phenomenally, get it. I mean, it's a couple $100 altogether, but the rod was not the Elite, it was the LT. This solid black one, it's not the silver floofy one. I don't go for that bullshit. It is a lightweight rig, but it handles like a champ, casts fantastic, loads up great, has a great backbone, great tip, and it's fairly light, and you can hold it most of the day without having any real discomfort. But yeah, the one that I was asked about was this combination right here. I mean, well, you don't want to do that with it. It's nothing. It's not as nothing as my Pan Assassin with the reel, but it's phenomenal. If I had, another $200 extra just laying around to spin on another Tatula, which I do, but I don't, I would put that on Pan Assassin, but I don't want to do that. That rod is intended for being a workhorse, not being a show pony. It's not that kind of a rig. This is a workhorse, and these Aria Okuma series, I would put these up in the workhorse category against the Fuegos, the Revros, the Legalis, and the Daiwa line. The reason that I prefer Daiwa and Okuma is that their drags are very adjustable. There's a lot of click factor, a lot of incremental. They're very smooth drags. The Daiwas beat out Okuma for the drag smoothness, but the adjustability for both is on par with the other. Luz and Fluger are also very good with their drags, very smooth. Shimano's higher line products are phenomenal with their drags. Abu, to me, leaves a little bit to be desired these days. For their bargain basement line is just crap as far as I'm concerned now. Their highline stuff is phenomenal. Their customer service is phenomenal. So there are differences of what you can look for, but if you're looking for a sub $100 ultralight rig, the Laguna 7'2" ultralight, which the designation on it is the LAG 702 ULFS. It is a 7-foot ultralight. It's a great rod. The Okuma is the Aria 1000A. The line ratings are 280 of 2 pound, 140 of 4, and 110 of 6. So if you do braid on this Aria, you're going to get a lot of line. I wouldn't begrudge you either way of doing it. So go out and get it. Big Five carries this rod and reel fairly regularly, depending on location. Do not get the Shimano FX. It is a pile of shit. It's the same cost as the Soraya, and it is not even half the reel, okay? At first, I thought it was great. I was like, this is cool. The drag's good. It spins great, but the bail ruins that whole fucking reel. It trashes the entire rest of that reel. And I hope that gives you what you need.